Hi everyone. I hope you're all having a good week. I wanted to introduce briefly the last part of our course, which is going to be Module 7 and 8. Module 7 information is up, and notice that it runs over the next 6 weeks. We do have a spring break coming up, which is the week of April 15th, that Monday. That whole week is our spring break this year, so we don't have any assignments. But notice if you look at the due dates, beginning on April 1st, there's 5 options for work that you have to do. Now, over this next piece, we're going to be pulling together all the things that we've learned at the beginning of the semester, and I'm asking you to write at minimum 2 exegetical papers on those 5 passages. If you do more than 2, of course, I'll only count the 2 highest grades. I encourage you, regardless, to do one of the first 2 papers so that you can get feedback in case you decide you need to write a 3rd paper because you want to try to do a better grade. So the only way you're going to have time to have a quick enough turnaround is if you do the first or the 2nd paper, so you'll know what you get. Again, a lot of people just wait and do the final 2 papers. That's fine. But I would encourage you, if you're to do one of the first 2 just so you can get feedback. And I can usually turn these around fairly quickly. You'll have feedback within a week on the Module 7 papers. Now, so far it's just been credit, no credit in the class. That's so you can get your feet wet. That's so you can work on the grammar, try to improve, and you've gotten some feedback. You'll be getting back your Module 5 and 6 papers over the next couple of days from me. Module 7 counts now, and this is going to constitute a good chunk of your grade. Again, the bulk of the grade still comes in Module 8, in the final exegetical paper, and in the book review that you'll have to do. Again, I do that simply because I assume that your best work will come in at the end of the semester once you've gotten a chance to practice and hone your skills. So let's look at the format that I'm looking for these Module 7 papers. All this is written in the written instructions, but I wanted to go over it with you so you can be completely clear. Again, there's a maximum word count on these things. That's 1,200 words, and that's not very long. Again, you have a little leeway to go over, of course, but you need to be thinking, and this paper needs to be not much more than 1,200 words. I do encourage you to use the whole piece of that, but fill it up with good substantive content. I'm looking for details, substance. You don't need to put sermon illustrations in this. This is an exegetical paper that's going to have 3 pieces. Your first part is the piece that we've been working on the last 3 modules, which is a theological synthesis statement. In other words, on the basis of your study, give me 2 to 3 sentences that summarizes what you think the passage means. Again, that's not a review or summary of the content of the passage. This is your thesis on what the text actually means. What is the subject of this passage? What does it mean? I've had a few examples of that. So write a good theological synthesis. The rest of your paper should fully unpack part 1. Part 2 answers the question, what's said about the subject? And part 2, which will be the longest chunk of your paper, again, if 1,200 words is roughly 3 pages or so, again, part 1 is 2 to 3 sentences, so just a short paragraph. Part 2 is going to be really 2/3 of your paper, maybe a little bit more than that. It's going to be where you unpack what's involved in this text, deal with key words, note key grammatical features. You don't have to do grammatical analysis in here in a wooden way, but you do need to make sense of any place that the Hebrew really helps to illuminate what the text is meaning, especially where there's multiple possibilities. In each of these 5 texts, there are exegetical issues that an interpreter has to make sense of. In many ways, your grade is going to depend on, are you aware of the exegetical issues involved in this text? It's in part 2 where you're going to unpack those things. You can do verse by verse exposition. You can talk about the structure. You lay out an outline for the text, but you want to talk about what's said about the subject, how the text moves forward, deal with key grammar, key exegetical issues, key meaning of words. Be aware of some of the theological issues that arise from a close reading of the text and work on those there. And then in part 3, you're dealing really with the so what. In part 3, it's the theological section, really. How does this text function within Exodus? How does this text function theologically in terms of the Scriptures? What does this passage ultimately teach the church? This is the part where you can work around to talk about how the ancient text in Exodus actually informs our Christian theology. Again, this isn't a sermon part of it. This is to struggle theologically with the issues that are present in the text that come out of that close reading of the passage. Again, I have a couple of examples of what these papers look like that you can look at. Again, make sure in all these Mod 7 papers that you interact with resources. Again, at minimum, you need to use 2 to 3 resources. That's minimum. This is a good place where you can get online and use our Asbury Scholar resources to find articles, use multiple commentaries. You obviously at least have access to Fredheim. Remember, on Asbury Scholar, you can get onto the Ministry Matters website and find Walter Brueggemann's commentary in New Interpreter's Bible. You can look at Waldemar Jansen's Exodus commentary in the New Believers Bible Commentary series, but look at good resources. Go to the library if you have access to one and find some substantive commentators to dialogue with in this. And again, and write all of this up in about 1,200 words. This is, and then we'll, throughout Module 7, if you don't write a paper for the given week, you're still expected to study it enough that you can then in the following week go back and discuss this. Again, the first week of Module 7, the text that we'll be looking at is Exodus 19, 3-6. While you're working on that, we'll be discussing the results of our Module 6 research. Then second week of Module 7, when we're doing the Sabbath commandment out of the 10 Commandments, we'll be then discussing Exodus 19. So again, if you don't write the paper in a given week, you're still responsible. Let me say one more thing as we look towards Module 8. In Module 8, you'll be writing a paper that's really double the length of one of your Module 7 papers. And just to be clear, as we get ahead to that and you can look at the instructions, you are permitted to write on one of the same texts that you wrote on for Module 7. So it is possible, not encouraging this, but it is possible that for the rest of the semester you're only working on 2 additional texts in terms of writing them up. 2 Module 7 papers, and then maybe you expand or rewrite one of those papers to be your Module 8 paper. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. Obviously, I'll be present in the discussion boards, and I look forward to reading some excellent exegetical papers as we move this semester to its conclusion. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day.